Hey folks, welcome back to Dieberry Outdoors. Today we are sneezing. Today we're talking all about birch. So stay tuned. Now there are around 40 different species of birch, and they've been used by the indigenous people of the US and Canada to craft containers, shelters, even canoes. Now birch is a hard wood and it's still flexible, so it's very common to be used in different applications, including modern skateboards. Some of the most common birch varieties in my backyard are the river birch, very popular in landscaping. The silver birch, probably one of the most recognizable birch varieties. And the yellow birch or swamp birch, which grows particularly well in wet environments like this. Now all birches have one thing in common, and that's a chemical called betulin. Betulin crystals align in such a way that they reflect light, giving some birch varieties that really cool white or shiny appearance. But betulin also has some other cool properties. It can repel pests and bacteria. Because it reflects light, it can help the cooling and heating process during the cold winter months to prevent the tree from cracking or splitting. It's hydrophobic, meaning it repels water, unlike my shoes. And last but not least, it's extremely flammable, which is very cool because we can easily use it to start our campfires, even in wet conditions. Now, it's important to note that you never want to cut the bark off of a birch tree. Doing so can really damage our friend, the birch. Instead, you want to try to peel back some of the bark that's already coming loose, like this. Cutting the birch bark off can introduce bacteria, pests, and other things, and more importantly, it can affect the flow of sap through the tree, which can seriously damage it. So you can either peel what's loose on the tree, like this, or oftentimes you can find rotting birch on the forest floor, like this. Now remember how I mentioned that birch bark was hydrophobic? That means that the inside of this fallen tree is going to rot out a lot faster than the bark on the outside, leaving you with these rings. And you can take some of these with you, carry them in your tinder pouch to start a fire anywhere. So let's head back home and start a fire with our birch bark. All right, so we're back here at base camp. It's my backyard. And we're ready to start a fire with our birch bark. So first things first, we're gonna tear off a little piece of this birch bark. Now you can carry this around with you in some sort of tinder pouch like this. This is pretty common. You'll see a lot of people carry these. Just a simple leather pouch. Here we've got some yellow birch and some creeping cedar inside there. I also love these dry and dry packets. I keep these in my Bushcraft gear often to keep everything nice and dry. So back to the birch bark. We're gonna scrape this birch bark with a knife. Today I'm using a pocket knife. This pocket knife is modified to have a 90-degree angle on the spine, and that's what we're gonna need to strike our ferro rod to get a really good spark off of this and light this birch bark. So the first thing we want to do is scrape off some of this bark. Now what we're doing here is we're creating airflow through these scrapings of birch bark, which contain the betulin, which is going to be very flammable once we throw a spark at it. So we're gonna get a little more of this off if the wind wants to cooperate. All right, now that we've got some of these shavings here, we're going to get our ferro rod ready. I'm also gonna get a little more bark. What you'd wanna do now is have your tinder and kindling and everything lined up, so that when you get a flame going, you can easily add things to it and create a fire out of it. So we're gonna place our ferro rod right down, and we're gonna hold the birch bark down with the rod, and we're gonna take this knife at a 90-degree angle on the spine, and we're just gonna scrape down, and ideally, we'll throw some sparks off that are gonna light this finely shaven birch bark. Go. Go. Almost. I wasn't fast enough. I think I bumped the camera there. Gonna scrape a little more because we did not get it with our first shot there. And that's okay. Especially in damp conditions, this can take quite a while. So we've got some more fine shavings here. You can see it's still smoldering. We're gonna throw another spark at this. Still didn't get it there. All right, let's try this again. There we go, I think we got it. There we go. Got a nice flame now. But you can see we get a really nice flame here just off of this birch bark. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about birch and how to start a fire using birch and a ferro rod. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing or clicking the like button. It'll really help me out. I'd love to continue to share what I know and to learn, because that is the process that we all go through. We're always learning, right? So I want to learn from you guys. I want you to learn from me. Let's share what we know. So like and subscribe, and let's get outside and do some cool stuff together, right? I'll catch you guys next time.